You waiting for me?
Yeah, but are we rolling anyway, Chris? I didn't know when we'd started. I'll wait. No, it's all right, Gary. Don't worry. There's no pressure now.
It's bigger than I thought.
We'll give you a couple of
gut training.
Actually, I got you a bacon and sausage this morning because, just going that little bit of extra for you, mate.
Extra protein.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Always thinking about you, mate. And I got 2 bottles of San Pellegrino because actually you've converted me, Gary. Like I quite like drinking it now.
It was a difference.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a cut above.
I've really screwed myself over with San Pel. So I bought a new bib shorts for my bike. And it's like a retro San Pellegrino branded one.
Oh my God.
And every time I go out cycling in it, I come back being like, I really, really want a San Pel. Just like advertising to myself.
Yeah. Mate, you might get sponsored.
Yeah, by San Pel, if you're listening.
Yeah.
Send me some lemonade.
I mean, we've given them a lot of airtime, haven't we, San Pel? It's about time they dip their hands in the pockets or sent us some free.
Is it the orange or the lemon one? Which would you go for, though?
Oh, it's a good question. I think lemon, to be honest.
Yeah. Standard.
Yeah. Well. I've tried a great selection as well. They've got those two as classics, haven't they? But then they've also got like a lemon and mint, which is probably my favourite.
Grapefruit as well.
There's a grapefruit. There's a few different ones. There's a good selection, but the lemon and mint's unreal.
Yeah.
That week in Italy, the fridge was just full of them.
Oh, when you went to Tour de Jaume? Yeah.
A bit of sugar, a bit of fizz.
Surprised you didn't
taste.
bring load back home, Gary. Or were you just on hand luggage?
No, I wasn't just on hand luggage, but I left them for Sophie, who was finishing, because funny enough, she'd bought some for during the race, and in the days leading up to it, I wasn't in the tour. Yeah. I was just drinking her San Pellegrino. But then she wouldn't have any for the race, so I had to replace them.
That was quite a nice week in Italy. Sit back, have a few lemonades.
It was all right, mate. Yeah, just disease ripped through the house.
Pause you on there, that's yours, mate. Yeah, all sorted, all ready.
Didn't loads of people get sick around that race? Or is it apparently that's kind of par for the course? But
yeah, so there was 6 of us in the house altogether, but split over 2 levels. So it was me, Rich Gill, and Sophie Bennett downstairs, and then in the level above there was James Elson, Pat Robbins, and John Kelly. So, so everyone else was doing the Tour de Géant on Sunday morning. I was doing the Top Trek Tuesday night. Sunday, 2 of them had got sick, Pat and James. John just locks himself in his room for 24 hours, so yeah, he was all right. And then
no germs and the gloves on.
We were all taking the piss at first, to be honest. Like, oh God, like he doesn't come out of his room. And then he was the only one that didn't get sick. So there was that. And then Sophie, bless her, was out for the full week, didn't get sick, thankfully. Me, Rich, and the other 2 lads did get sick. Yeah, none of us got further than 50k into those races.
Right. And no amount of San Pel could pull you out of the hole.
No, or lager, yeah. 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 In fact, the other 2 went home early just so they didn't spend money on beer. Yeah. Yeah, it was nice though. Yeah.
Right, should we get stuck in?
Better had.
Let's do the intro. Welcome to the RUNcensored podcast with me, Ben Mounty, Gary House, and we've got a special guest on today, Hugh Chatfield.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome, mate. Now, as is customary on this podcast, I've got to let the guests introduce themselves, so I'm going to let you take the floor and tell us a little bit about yourself and position yourself as a runner.
That is the worst interview question of all time, isn't it? Tell me about yourself. You
it really is.
Nowhere to go with
that. It's either that or you get 20 minutes of Ben doing it for you. So
it's much better that I do it.
Yeah. Exactly, mate. That's what I've been told.
Yeah, Hugh Chatfield, runner, I guess. Trying to identify as that and trying to do as much running as possible at the moment. Yeah, I guess from all around the UK at the moment. So I'm based down south near Tring, which is the local running club that I run for in the Fells. It's quite good to get a shout out when someone recognises the vest next to an Ambleside or a Keswick vest. And then, I spend a lot of time in the lakes where I train, spend a bunch of time in Wales where I also train and have raced in the past, and of having my microphone adjusted. And I've been really trying to break onto the scene of the kind of, I guess you might call it like the mid-distance ultra, the kind of like 50-mile, 100k distance, and I've been trying to compete at the hardest, toppest, elitist level I can in the last about 12 months, and I've had a couple of good results recently and don't really want to stop. And when I'm not running, I work for a charity. I try and play a bit of guitar, try and speak a bit of Spanish, and just try and get out and about and outside as much as possible.
Mate, good intro. It's much better. I'm so glad I asked you to do that now because I would have killed
like an
that.
ultra running Julian Iglesias.
Fair enough.
Where's
That's why it's best left to you.
where's the Spanish come from? Obviously, you're keen to learn. Is that because obviously you recently went to the Worlds, which we're going to talk about in depth on this episode, which was in the Spanish Pyrenees at this time. Did that spark the initiative to learn Spanish?
It wasn't part of my training plan to learn Spanish to perform better in Spain. No, my dad's parents used to live in Spain. They sort of did the classic expat thing of going for some sun and some olive oil, and so I used to go quite a bit as a kid. And I just sort of liked the idea of being able to speak Spanish to like waiters or to shop assistants, whatever it might be. So then I chose it as an option at school at GCSE, chose it as an option at A level, did it a bit on the side at uni on the side of my degree. And then after that, I spoke to some friends who'd done like modern languages courses, who'd like done it as their degree. And they went to live in Spain or France, whatever it was, and came back fluent and had this slightly bigger world. Like they could speak to people who otherwise they couldn't speak to.
Totally agree. And it's always good when you go to Benidorm to have a second language like Spanish, isn't it?
To order the beers.
Just need Glaswegian there.
Because the main language in Benidorm is English. But you're right, when you're travelling around, it's nice. It's respectful, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that. And I thought, well, if I don't like keep going with it, if I don't try and do lessons or I don't try and like go to Spain, or I've been to Ecuador and Mexico as well on quite extended trips, if I don't take those opportunities, I will lose it. Like it'll be something you learn at school and you'll remember how to order beer or whatever it is, and then no more.
Are you on the Duolingo?
I'm not on the Duolingo. I'm probably a level beyond Duolingo.
Oh, are you? Wow. Gosh,
I would claim, it's a bold claim on a public podcast, and I would claim I speak Spanish.
Wow, mate, I think you're the first guest we've had on who's got a second language. That might be a bold claim as well, actually.
I think you're just plucking it out of it.
Yeah,
all the people we've
actually.
on.
Yeah, you must have other people in there.
I mean,
the other Hugh clearly spoke Welsh, didn't he?
Yeah, well, yeah, true, actually. And Gary speaks Welsh, doesn't he? Better than me, anyway.
I was listening to a running Spanish podcast on the way over here this morning.
I mean, that's serious. Yeah, you definitely got that in your repertoire.
What do you find easier, speaking a conversation in Spanish, or if you listen to Spanish, if that makes sense? Do you understand more, or is it quite equal?
Yeah, good question. I think it's just so dependent on the person and the accent you're speaking to. So, like, even if you take Spain, people in the north of Spain, central Spain, south of Spain speak really differently. People in South America, Mexico, Ecuador, it's all slightly different dialects and accents and different words. And then some people, like in English, speak clearer. Some people speak less clear. You know, when people come to the UK, they probably find it easier to understand me than someone who lives in the north of England, maybe, because of the accents and the differences.
Yeah.
So it's that. And also just the speed. Like, you know, when you're having a conversation with someone, they'll know that Spanish isn't your first language, so they might slow down a little bit. Then it's kind of easy. If you listen to some really high, like flying podcast, you might find it a bit more challenging.
Yeah.
And I know, obviously, you're going all in now with the running. You're even thinking about moving to the lakes. Is that right? You're in the process of.
I'm literally viewing houses, thinking about money and budgets and rents and how I might be able to make that work. Yeah.
Is the idea being you're going to be able to train more in that like lakeland environment? So it's obviously going to be good for the running career.
I think so.
The main
so
motivation.
I've spent the last 2 years like either on a treadmill or on the M6 to a mountain. And yeah, I think, I've had some good results recently. I'm really enjoying running and really enjoying ultra running and competing at this top level. And I think, you know, you've got to then keep looking for these performance unlocks. So training on the treadmill is probably less optimal. I mean, a few sessions, but rather than being in the mountains. And also as a kind of quality of life thing. Like I got into the sport because I like exploring and running in the hills. And if I live down south, there's other benefits. My parents are there, my work was there. But those things are kind of applying less and less. And also at this age, I've got a few years to really throw myself into this sport a bit more. So yeah, all those things driving that thought.
And does work, the charity at the minute, allow you to increase training as much as you want? Or are you a bit limited at the minute? Or are you in conversations now? Because you're probably at that time, are you? That's like, it'd be handy if you could just train full time. But
this is the question of the month, of the year, of the budgeting phases of the major brands, right? This is the time. So I worked full time until I've done about 4 or 5 years of full time work, right? Since 6 years at the charity I've been at now. About a year ago, I went to 4 days a week. So I gained an extra day broadly to spend on the M6 and in the toll booth. But more training and more time. And then this year, I've kept working those full time 4 days. But like training for Worlds, this race recently, I pushed it to the limit. I did take maximum holiday. I took a couple of weeks unpaid leave. And was training before work, training after work. Like the job was really a limitation. I think I can probably maintain this level with work and training, but it is a full-on commitment, right? Like it's much better to train at 10 a.m. once you've had breakfast and digested, and then not go back to like stressful calls or whatever, than it is to.
And let's be honest now, you're competing on a stage and on a level where most of the people you're up against are professional athletes. When you go into the World Championships, for example, they're living at altitude as well. They've got all this time to train and devote themselves, and they've got the financial support to be able to do that. So it's not a level playing field in that respect, is it? So you have to make that move if you're going to be able to up your career and compete on that same level.
Definitely.
Really.
All the guys I were racing, I think, were professionals. And I'm not unsupported, right? So I've benefited from a kind of maybe even you could say professional setup. So the coaching I've had through like Elite Trail Team and Doug Stewart's work has been the concept of that was to try and replicate what a professional cycling team does. So there's a coach, there's a nutritionist, there's a sleep specialist, there's a sports psych, there's a team setup where we're sharing tips and tricks and like encouraging each other in our training. So that's kind of part of it. I did do an altitude camp this summer. I took leave from work to do it, which was kind of professional, and I thought about that in quite a lot of detail and was managing a lot of my like metrics in a way that I might not have looked at before. And also Altra have given me some support. Like I've been running in the shoes, I've been speaking to the brand. They have supported me with a kind of small athlete contract this year. It's not enough to like live the full-time life that like the people I was racing in Spain were, but like that's the kind of conversations that athletes start having this time of year. It's like, well, look at my results, this is the value I can bring to the brand. And now I am beginning to have these conversations as if I am a semi-pro athlete, I guess. Who knows whether it will turn out that way.
I remember years ago, like we've touched on it before, like going back quite a time now, teams would, people would get certain results, say in the UK, I'm talking mainly, and then there would be an opportunity for not many of them to maybe be picked up by a brand. I think there's more opportunity now, not enough. But what you might see in the past is people are usually driven, right? So they've probably made a success in work. They're working really hard, but they're also training really hard. Their running becomes a success. They get offered a contract, which means they can ditch work. And then they almost like just overdo it on the training and increase training and do more of what they've done. And then they maybe drop off after a year or two.
Yeah.
And I think now, like with added support, like maybe you've got, which sounds perfect, because really it could be doing what you're doing now, but when instead of working, just being horizontal, like you mentioned, cyclists, that's kind of what they want, right? So you're either training or you're on the sofa chilling, not going to do a full time or 4 days a week in work.
Stress and stuff. Yeah, 100%.
Is that the thing that's missing almost?
Yeah, I think so. I think if I was full time, I'd do a little bit more training.
Yeah.
But that's not the thing that's going to move loads. Is what I would say is like all the wraparound. So there's recovery, sleep, stress. I'd probably do more physio, more S&C, and I would like take my time over that and do it properly rather than squeeze it in. So all those like other bits that let you be a more durable, more rounded, less risky athlete, I guess.
And when you've got a race like you did, you can plan properly, like you're going to be out there for X amount of time or be at altitude for X amount of time, whatever you choose. Even if you're a marathon runner, right? You'd be choosing that without restriction. And I think that is a big jump, isn't it, for people?
100%.
Really. You look at UTMBs and you look at world champs, and there's amazing people that are working 50 hours a week and still getting these results. But at the same time, that gap is getting the depth in field usually depends on professional athletes.
Yeah, the landscape has definitely changed even in the last 10 years. I mean, the money that's going into trail running now, I can see it from an industry perspective. There's more trail running brands, there's more of an emphasis on building trail ranges for all these, big sporting brands. And they're pumping money into these professional teams, and there's a lot of professionals now on the circuit, whereas 10, 15 years ago, there wasn't that volume. But you're in a situation now where you're having to race against the likes of Jim Walmsley and those types of people.
I don't think I raced against Jim Walmsley, but there were some other names I raced against in the mix that you might know.
But he's in the same
in the same field.
Same field, yeah. So, and obviously the Worlds this year were at Canfranc in Pyrenees, just across the border from France in Spain.
Yeah.
Did you go out before the Worlds to train? I know you said you did some altitude training. Was that part of it? Did you go there, recce the course, for example? And how much time did you spend out there preparing?
Yeah, so
for that?
this was the A-star goal for the year. Like the whole year was designed around performing in this race. So I sacrificed other opportunities, did all my training with this in mind. focused on the British qualifier for the team, a race in Wales, 14 Peaks, earlier in the year. And then did a recce, did a sort of trial marathon race in the Pyrenees in the middle of that. So yeah, everything I did this year was trying to be in my best possible shape. And a few weeks ago in Canfranc on that start line for that race. Yeah, so the recce. Yeah, so I went out with a couple of other guys from that trail team. So Keith Wigley, who raced for GB as well, and Catalin Sorosau, who raced for Romania, who we both got the same coach. We rented a Airbnb in the valley and spent 3 or 4 days on the trails. Those were probably 3 of the 4 hardest days of training I've ever done. Yeah. So we had a limited amount of time, and we thought there was probably a massive return to seeing the course. We'd heard it was super technical, super confusing, super weird, and if you hadn't recce'd it, you'd probably be wrong-footed at some point. And also, lots of it was high. And so we live down here in the soup, don't really know how your body's going to respond when you get up high, and getting a bit more data about how that feels, what happened to your heart rate, what your efforts and paces were, is really important. Because if I do a race in Wales, I've got a pretty good sense of how fast I might run over different terrain, whereas at 2,000 metres, I don't have that data to think about it. So yeah, we probably did marathon, half marathon, and an easy run in 4 days, mostly about 2,000 metres, which was sort of at the limit of, I think, what's advisable. And I think we all came back a little bit like fucked from that experience.
It was part of it, like you say, not necessarily the training stimulus, but more the data gathering and how you feel.
Exposure, yeah, 100%. And so I think it was worth it. So I probably went to the limit physically, but I came away with, I think this is how fast I can do the course, and I'm really confident in that. Using like grade adjusted pace, you know, that thing that Strava gives you, actually a really good tool for planning speed on the mountain. Yeah. So so using that, I had a really good sense of the course, and I had like a really clear mental image. So in a couple of days before the race, I could go, well, I know this and this and this and this. And
for those people listening to the podcast who aren't familiar with running at over 2,000 metres at altitude, it's bloody hard, isn't it? I mean, I was lucky enough to be out last week in the Alps, and I did a VK race, and we started just below 2,000 metres and finished just below 3.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. It's like breathing through a straw, isn't it?
It's really weird.
And one thing I noticed, apart from the obvious effort, was that on my Garmin, I'd gone out there with a VO2 max score that changed quite significantly over the 3 days I was there. I'd never noticed that before, but because you've got your VO2 max on your watch face, it had gone down by 7 points, and then it's gone back up to where it was before, which I found like just I've never noticed that before, but it does show that there's a huge shift in how you're training, how your body's reacting to the training.
Massively. Shows how inaccurate that is as well.
Yeah.
Because VO2 max just dropped 7.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask Gary about that, actually, about whether that is a normal thing.
It will be on the watch, but it's not like your actual VO2 max.
No, exactly. And I'm aware of that, definitely. But that's the data that's going into the watch. It's obviously being skewed by that, isn't it? I thought it was a good point.
I think my VO2 max is like 14 points higher than my watch says.
Yes,
my lab-based one. Anyway, the physiological effects of altitude. I'm no expert, but like I can see it. So I track my training, my heart rate. Obviously, I was wearing an oxygen sensor on my quad from a brand called Train Red a bit through this training block to sort of see this. So when I did some races at altitude early in the season in August, I did a VK similar to what you described. Did a marathon in the Pyrenees as well to just check this data. What I observed is as I went above 2,200. My effort level would stay really high, it would feel really hard, and my heart rate would just plummet.
Wow.
Yeah. Most people think you go to altitude and your heart rate goes up. Like, it's harder to do stuff.
Because your breathing rate's gone up.
Yeah. And I think that's probably true for like walking up the stairs or like resting.
Yeah.
But when it comes to exercising at that top end, you get the opposite. Lots of people have the opposite effect, which is like you just feel you can't put out that power.
Can't get the output,
Yeah, your body's kind of protecting yourself. And so then I did do an altitude block in Font-Romeu, which is the like French pre-Olympic centre. Really good value actually for good food and training in the Pyrenees. And through that time I did sessions at altitude and was watching that effect stop basically. And then on race day, the climb at the start is about 2 hours climbing up to about 2.5, a peak called La Moletta. And that last 20 minutes is just up a wall at altitude. So it's a real test. And my heart rate stayed high. And like in the race, as I observed that, I was like, wow, this is like, I trained for this moment and I can see my body doing what I trained it to do. And it couldn't have done this 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So it was, other things could have happened, but it was really satisfying.
I mean, there was a lot of things to prepare for in terms of going out and competing at that level. Would you say that's probably was that the biggest challenge, really, of being able to
altitude.
Run 100%.
I think I could train for a 50 mile or a 100k race with that kind of vert. And I have raced those. I thought when I looked at this race and we did a bit of analysis, some friends and I were like, half of this race will be spent above 2,000 metres time-wise.
And that's the difference, right? For people listening and watching and people that have maybe gone out to races that have been at altitude, me included probably, there's a big difference between getting through a big mountainous race at altitude versus like pushing at a world champs, like Hugh's saying.
Yeah.
Like, because that's what we're saying. Like, you could get to that race and get round, but can you push to your training potential because of the altitude? That's the big difference at that level, I think.
Yeah, and I would call out a couple of like teammates. So like Keith Wigley, I was like good training partner, great mate. We've gone on this like journey together. Also runs for Altra as well, and was also in the GB team there. I think he had a tricky race. I think that was probably because he couldn't find the time. He didn't think his body was in the right place to do like an altitude block.
Yeah.
You know, your personal circumstances dictate whether you can do that. And he struggled in the race, and I think he thinks that was altitude was the main factor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it probably is. It's really important, isn't it? And I don't think, you know, anybody who's going into that naive and not understanding that is going to suffer. You've got to plan and prepare. And also, I think the timing of when you're at altitude is important, isn't it? Right. So if you're going out, when you go out and how you approach it, I mean,
there's a few different schools of thought.
There is, isn't there? And I'm no expert in this, but I've looked at results in the past from people and like when they've gone out to run at altitude, and I've seen with the GB teams before in the Worlds, and certain people have gone out to do a block of altitude training at the right time, have then really benefited when it comes around to the race. And equally, some people have really suffered when they've got those timings wrong.
If you look at that, mine wasn't optimal, because I think there's two schools of thought. One is you do it far out, come down, maintain with like a heat block, or like, you know, like sauna or like waterproofs on the bike, or the other is you come down really close.
Yeah.
I did kind of neither. I was kind of like in the hinterland, but I still thought that like doing a block would be more beneficial.
Yeah.
I was think, again, I can't back this up, but that school of thought that says just get out there as close as you can, I just don't see how that is.
Yeah, I don't know. No expert.
Don't see how that is a don't see how that is a benefit, to be honest. More than other than mentally, you know, you've told yourself whatever. Because it's if you're out there for, let's for example say you were out there for weeks on end beforehand, you're obviously going to be adapted.
That's more adapted, definitely.
Yeah. So the closer you get to it, the less adapted you're going to be. You're not going to trick your body into being adapted.
Yeah.
So I think it is more mentally, and like you say, that the more and more you hear about heat training and doing it the right way and mixing it up like you've probably done is probably the sweetest spot you could have found.
Yeah, and I'm lucky, right, that I was able to do that. Lucky in lots of ways. I'm lucky to have the support and advice to guide me through that. I mentioned Trail Team and Doug have been instrumental in that. Lucky to be at a point in my life where I am relatively independent with no kids and the ability to go to, and a job that I could work from home. So like those three things all kind of came together to allow me to do that.
And we've talked about altitude being like an issue and like a problem that you've got to try and solve and unlock, but also the conditions in terms of like the weather out there can I mean, it can be very unpredictable. But I think this year, am I right in thinking it was quite hot for the race?
Well, actually, no. So it was really hot for the recce.
Yeah.
We got absolutely screwed trying to find water. But for the actual race week, it was actually pretty cold up high.
Yeah.
So in the mornings in the valley, which is about 1,000, it was actually 0, 1, 2, 3. And so it was below 0 on the summits. So in the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of race week, there was snow on the summits. So we were all getting a bit scared about ice and like our layering and all that. Luckily, it warmed up a little bit towards the end of the week. And our race day was, I'd say, like perfect running weather. It's like single digits as we started and then warmed up to the mid-teens. So that was really nice.
Well, that's very hard as well to train for, isn't it? Because you don't actually know what to expect like quite far out. It can change quite significantly there.
Another thing, so I'm thinking about all these things like nutrition, water, temperature. So I'd been, loads of my training was like heat-based training where I'm drinking way more. And on race day, the temperature was probably 10, 15 degrees lower than I was kind of been training in most of the time. So I had to, I thought about drinking less, and I did drink a bit less because I knew I wouldn't need it. Then I would, like, if it was that race had been at 20 plus degrees, I'd have drunk like a whole other bottle an hour more than I did. Yeah.
So much to consider, isn't there?
There's loads. That's what I love about ultra running. It's like,
it's problem solving, right?
Yeah. You've got for me, people ask like, what's the most important factor? We've talked a lot about altitude, and that probably was, if I had to pick a factor, the most important for this race. But like nutrition, fitness, durability, strength, nav, and like recceing and like the race plan, gear, like all of these things come together to run for 9-10 hours at speed.
Let's just talk about nutrition, because we have talked about long distance and ultra events and races over the past few episodes, and people's approaches to when they're taking nutrition on board, what they're eating as well, and what they're drinking. Like, what was your plan then going into that? Break it down for us.
Yeah, I thought about it a lot, and I've refined it over the last couple of years. So a couple of years ago, I used to like bonk a lot, and like I think probably like everyone, just accept that like running for 5 hours, you'll have a bonk. I don't think that's the current way. I'm very much on the high carb train. So I'm probably, in these races, I set out to eat and take with me 135 grams of carbs an hour. So I work with a sponsor called Endurance, quite a small European sponsor, but the food's really good. It has 45 gram gels and kind of 90 gram drinks. So it's like a drink and a gel or 3 gels or whatever it might be. And I'm eating on minute 15, minute 30, minute 45, a bit of time off, back again. So I'm just throwing carbs in the whole time until maybe the last 2 hours when I start more to fuel to feel. But for like the first 5-7 hours, I'm just eating on the clock.
Yeah.
And I think it's crucial. Like I did feel hungry a couple of times in the race despite that, but it was never the bonk feeling. And I think the other things that come into that is it's not just grams of sugar. It's probably wise to think about like litres of water per hour. So I do that maths beforehand, work out how many flasks I'll need. So that's not random. And I might adjust from that point if it's hot or cold. And then also thinking about sodium. So in the past, I've done that with salt tabs. The gels I currently use have sodium in as well. So I'm getting roughly the amount of sodium as well. So yeah, I'm going up with that amount of food. And it also means that if I do feel a bit rubbish for an hour, if I miss a gel, that's still 90 grams. So, no worries. So I think about this really hard and I've benefited a lot. I should shout her out. Rebecca Dent, who's the nutritionist we work with at the sports team, has advised me a lot. Elite Trial Team has advised me a lot on that process.
And
it's
are you
given me the
starting from a
confidence.
point of just almost like dose response, trying to maximise this carbs, or are you starting from an actual target? Or because I imagine from your own racing and experience, I know you've been bonked a few times, but you're probably never racing at like 20 grams an hour. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never done that.
Because no one could be performing,
Yeah.
I don't think, even at your level years ago, like that. So is it just a case of getting in with someone like Rebecca and going like, how do I maximise it? Or did she give you a target? Or how does those conversations go?
It's interesting. So, I mean, my sample size is the other people in the trail team that I run with. So there's about 12 of us. And I think there's probably a range from about 70 to, I'm probably at the top end at 135. Yeah, okay. And it's all specific to you, how you feel. And so the advice is the same. It's just like, try in training, work out the level that works for you. You're right, though. It's almost certainly not going to be less than 60. Yeah. Right. There's just no way you can do the maths of the sugar you need to do this type of running. But yeah, I think you've then got to find what works for you and the mix of products that works for you. Like some people prefer gels, some people prefer drinks. And I've experimented with those things through time. Yeah, I think it's trial and error, right? Try it, get it wrong, try something different the next time. And there's already a few things I'm going to try differently
like
next
you say,
time.
the amount of data you've got, and you've obviously into the data in terms of, like you say, if you went to a race in Wales, say, the terrain, you can look at a distance and a profile and go, okay, that's going to take me X amount of time. So then you can then back it up with your nutrition plan.
100%.
Like I speak to so many people that are just like, I don't know, it might take me 10 hours, might take me 16 hours. And it's like, well, which is it? Because you would be looking at a completely different kind of nutrition, not 100%. Completely different nutrition plan, but like you say, if you need those hunger feelings or you need some satiation in just that race, then any more than that, you're probably looking, okay, how do I battle that in this kind of stuff?
100%.
So it's like, for people, I always say people in the mid pack, they can take inspiration or just advice from people that are like Hugh, looking at the data and stuff. They should do that for themselves. And it's
there's a quick hack. So if you go and do your longest training run, and assume you're going to match roughly the elevation per meter. So if it's you're going to do 100k with 5,000 meters, your longest training run might be 40k with whatever the proportionate elevation is. Look at your minutes per k. Times the number of kilometers in the actual race. That gives you some sense of the number of hours. Divide that by, I want to eat 100 grams per hour, and then
that gives you a
gives you a nutrition plan off the bat, right?
Yeah. That's a great hack. Yeah.
We do it a bit more. I do it myself a bit more scientifically than that. So I did build a little app as well this year that uses grade adjusted pace as an input. So you throw in the GPX, you throw in example grade adjusted paces, and you could get those from Strava, and then that gives you the time. Because grade adjusted pace is that concept of adjusting your flat speed to a climb. So it allows you to estimate how long a hilly course will take you. It's kind of
Be
works
careful,
both ways.
Strava will be suing you next week.
Yeah, well, no, it's just using the number that gives you back on their, when you do a run, it gives you your grap. It's just using that as an input into a different model I've built. So it allows you to estimate stuff.
That's interesting, because that's it's, I'm not going to say it's basic stuff, but like you say, it can be it's like a hack, or people get so complicated with what bloody brand or whatever, and it's they're just not doing the basics of getting training. What's your longest run going to be? Can you do this X per hour? Can you increase it a bit from 20 to 30, from 30 to 40, instead of going in, Hugh's doing 130. I need to do 130.
Yeah.
And then completely fucking it up, basically.
Yeah, you might get. I would probably. Yeah, if I was advising someone who's running on 90, I wouldn't say go to 130. I would like try an hour at that in training, see how you feel. Does it help? Does it not?
Yeah.
I think loads of the guys I was running with weren't running at that level. They're probably. I think most people in the field I'm on are around 100.
And the good thing is, as you develop as a runner and as you get more years of training, you get more efficient at pretty much everything, don't you? So those numbers, I imagine, will adjust. So if you're with a dietitian or nutrition, it's really interesting because they'll be consistently looking, okay, well, Hugh's now got another block of training and race data, but next year you might be racing something completely different.
Yeah.
And those numbers might have to change. I don't know. Yeah.
It's quite clear you put the homework in, though.
Yeah, went all in.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and it's paid off. I mean, we'll come to the result in a bit, but moving on to you said it was quite technical out there. You'd obviously gone out there, you practiced on the terrain, so shoe choice and kit is like an important thing as well, isn't it? So you already had in your mind like what you were going to wear for that distance, so you practiced in those shoes and I know you've obviously sponsored by Altra now, so we'll get that in there. I am, mate. I'm doing my best here for you to give a bit about some branding.
I was pretty confident in my shoe choice, so I ran in a pair of Altra's kind of race shoe, which is the Mont Blanc Carbon trail shoe, and I think it was a good shoe for the terrain. And I'm not just saying that; I genuinely do think that. So what I think it was, it's a carbon trail shoe, and I think if you're not using carbon or like a special foam at the elite level, you're probably throwing away some time. So A, that. But B, this shoe is like not the most bouncy of the shoes. So if you take like the top of the range Hoka, however you pronounce it, that's probably giving you a bit more bang for your buck. The carbon plate is probably punchier. The foam is probably deeper. But then on super technical terrain, I don't think you necessarily want to be running on a trampoline. You really want a bit more ground feel. The kind of what I think the term for the brand isn't it foot shaped, but the wider forefoot of the Altra shoe gives you a bit more grip
Split
and purchase.
Inside it.
So I had good ground feel throughout the race, and it was dry.
What everyone will say is that you want that support, you want that speed over the ground, but you want the proprioception like you're talking about as well. And I have been in higher stack shoes and things that you do lose that. Yeah. And at that level, if you lose any confidence in your technical ability, that's when it's you can put whatever you want in a shoe, and I'm not interested.
Yeah, and I also think when you are on very technical terrain, and say for example you're running downhill and you're constantly on switchbacks and you're having to really corner. If you're on a high stack shoe, Jesus, I mean you're going to lose a lot of time there, aren't you? You've got to be able to confidently twist and turn in a shoe, and that's where what you're saying comes into play.
Worked really well for me. I mean, there are guys, and probably Jim did wear a really high stack shoe and won the race and run the fastest time by miles. So it can be done. But for me, thinking about what tools I wanted to use on that terrain, I wanted a lower stack shoe. And I used to race even like the ultras in fell racing shoes. Like I'm a person who's preferred a little bit less underfoot, just how I like to run. So I thought the shoe was really good. I don't know what I've done if it was super wet. So if it'd been super wet, that would have been really tricky shoe choice. I think I'd have defaulted to the fact that everyone's fucked. If it's really wet out there, everyone's going to be slipping around.
Did you take a range of shoe choice out there? Because I usually do for something like an important race. You've got to cover yourself because it can change pretty quickly out there.
I had a backpack of shoes I would refer to, but I did want to run in that shoe because I'd also done all my my trial races in that shoe as well. So I was like, okay, well, I know how this will feel. And
a lot of the brands these days, their flagship shoe is almost like UTMB trail kind of orientated these days, and it wasn't always that case. And then you'll get a couple, like you say, like I think Altra have done a really good job in the last few years, definitely of coming on in terms of I would race in that shoe on hard technical ground, whereas some of the top ones I probably wouldn't because of the high stack and stuff.
I felt confident.
Yeah.
And obviously you've had to earn your right to be at this event. Going back to the trials race then, just talk to that because that was...
cool race.
Yeah, good race. What was the profile of
so
that
was
race?
The 14 Peaks Sky race, a part of the Sky Runner series in the UK. It was a hell of a technical course. It was roughly a 50k, and it was 13, not 14, of the peaks in Wales, the 3,000 footers in there.
So 50k, what was the total elevation?
3.7, I think, k up and down. So it's broadly like day one of the Dragon's Back. So it was
it's the Welsh 3000s race, but then you drop down off the top.
Super techie then.
Really, really technical. And 2 graded scrambles. So it did the north face of Trifan from the scramble route, and it did Cribgoch over the full ridge. Really, really technical. And at the time, I was sort of moaning a little bit about doing this race. I was like, oh, it's super, super technical. Surely it's not going to be that technical out on the course. And yeah, those two bits are probably more technical. Like you're not scrambling up Trifan in the race in Spain, but like that type of terrain of constantly being off camber, not a free meter, is kind of how the race felt. So actually, I probably think kudos to the selectors for picking the race.
Terrain-wise, it completely fit. Yeah. And also with the distance and the elevation, how did that compare?
It's a little
to
bit short, I think. Yeah. If I was designing the perfect selection race, I'd have sent us probably back over Snowdon because I did that race in 6:40. Yeah. So we needed probably another 2 hours to be getting close to the time on feet for the race. Yeah. But finding a race of that nature in the UK is kind of impossible.
It's very hard, isn't it? This is one of the challenges that a lot of the selectors have, the selectors have got when they're trying to select the right team to go out to compete on somewhere like that. You can't replicate the altitude. No. You can replicate the distance and the climb if you want to, but you might have to fabricate the race to do it. But
my personal view, not a house view, is that I think the selectors should probably put a bit more on resume. So this team was 4 from the selection race and 2 on resume. Yeah. So you had Luke, Grenfell-Shaw and Keith from resume, and the other 4 were Andy, Jack, me and Alistair Graves, who were all in the selection race. For the men's team, that is, for the long. Obviously different things for the different races. I think probably a policy that says allows a bit more, because of also there's a few competing factors here, like to find the most competitive races. They're not this was a competitive race, but the most competitive races at that time were in Europe, like even maybe Mozart 100 in Austria was probably more competitive.
It's not just getting the right race in terms of profile, it's also timing, because you can't stick at one in August, can you?
Yeah.
Pick one
that
then.
as well.
So you are tricky. Right, like you say, maybe less automatic spots and more resume.
Yeah, and the policy allows for both, and it is up to the panel. So they allow for both, but I think the weighting to me felt this year that the trial race was important. I see pros and cons, right? Because if you then choose a race in the UK, you then bring a competitive race to the UK, which is probably good for UK running. So not everyone can travel to, I don't know, the Canary Islands in March to run Transcan Canaria. Like that's quite, you're lucky if you can do that as a person.
Absolutely.
So I see the pros and cons.
Plus also, I guess if you're at that race, you know that those people are committed to your race season for the World Champs.
Also true.
Kind of thing, right? And it's not like, and because we had that conversation, it's because unfortunately not everyone can or will target the World Champs.
Yeah, well, UTMB.
At that time of year.
It's the big discussion this year, right?
Or UTMB.
This is it. Yeah,
or other races, to be honest. So yeah, it's like, was that an easy decision for you?
For me, it was quite easy. Yeah. Easy for me. I just thought it was a once in a lifetime. I felt fit enough at the start of this year. It's like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I don't know how I feel in 2027. I'm now in a good place to go for a British vest that I'll be able to hold forever, right? I've got those photos and that kit. So it was an easy decision for me. And I think it's interesting to see I think it was the most competitive race this year in ultra running, right? Of that distance. Well, like all the guys who were in the top few, like the French guys didn't race at UTMB. Their federation said they couldn't. Jim obviously raced OCC, Christian raced OCC, Wittek raced OCC, like all those guys pulled down a distance so that they could race this race. And some people did still respect the UTMB challenge. I mean, still kudos to Tom Evans running an incredible time on that course, and Ben Zeman and Josh and stuff. But if you look at the average of the decisions that people made this year, more people chose the Worlds in a way that they definitely didn't 2 or 4 years ago.
More people definitely did choose the Worlds this time, but I still think it's too close to UTMB, and the pull of UTMB is let's be honest, taking a lot of these runners away. I just feel like for me, the World Champ should be the race. It should be the one that everybody chooses, like regardless. And I think something's going to have to change with the organisation to make that happen. And it's not going to be an easy fix.
Well, we can start writing emails to the team in Cape Town for 27. That is a week later than. Is that right? Was. So the gap is 1 or 2 weeks more. So you'll have the same problem.
Still going to have this
same problem in 27,
But you see the point I'm trying to make, and it is an issue. Like I can see why people would choose UTMB, but I also see why people would choose the Worlds as well. And this was your first vest, am I right? Thinking that? Yeah. So the prestige of running for your country, for me, and we've all talked about this, is for me should outweigh everything. Because it's an amazing experience, and we'll talk about the experience in a moment as well, because I had some questions on that. But you've not, in the grand scheme of things, been running that long at that level, have you? So kudos to you for making that team in the relatively short space of time, because I feel like there's so much more potential now for you to go on and do even greater things. Because I don't know how we've managed to keep this on the down low really yet, but you finished 12th in this World Championship race. Yeah. So honestly, incredible. 12th in that field at that level
was
He's amazing.
Yeah, I feel amazing. I'm still riding the Pride. People keep asking me what's next or what race is next, and I'm trying to say I don't want to answer that question. I still want to dwell on what happened 2 weeks ago. Yeah, amazing. It was kind of a bit of a running dream come true, right? So like through the middle of this race, I was battling with people I've seen on podiums who have hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram, who are like the celebrities of the sport. Yeah, the middle of the race, I remember a moment on a climb, about a 10-minute climb in the middle of the Spanish Pyrenees. Gorgeous weather, gorgeous views. Ahead of me was Vincent Boyard, who I was catching on, obviously, from UTMB. Behind me was Zach Miller and Baptiste Chassange, who have both podiumed UTMB, and I was gapping them, and I felt good at this point. So it was like, allez Vincent, allez Baptiste, allez Zach. And like no one had any idea who I was, but I was in the race throwing punches. I'd set a goal before the race, which was like, loads of goals I thought about obviously very deeply, but one of the goals I had was like to try and throw some punches, like find myself in a spot where I could attack, I could like make a move on someone. And so it felt really cool to be like trying to do that in that field at that moment. Yeah, dream come true. And to finish 12th was great.
And it allows it to do that because the setup, like all the way through them, because it's a team effort as well, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
So you can be like you say, throwing punches, whether you're 12th or whether you're 50th, really.
Yeah, every second counts.
That's what makes it such, I imagine, anyway, and Ben, you'll know more than me, but being involved in that is, that surely is, that would trump again, like UTMB, because it is all on yourself. And it
gives you another reason to run hard.
Yeah, and you've trained with those people as well, and you're out with those people, and again, even more so for you, let's be honest, because you're at the front of those people as well, of your team. Were you thriving off the fact of that as well?
Yeah, I think I was. Yes, yeah. I mean, running for your country and wearing that vest and like representing in that way, and people say "Go GB" even if they don't know who you are, is motivating. So definitely part of it. But also, I think surely everyone on the ride has a lot of intrinsic, selfish motivation to try and run and compete as hard as possible, right? Yeah.
To do that though on your debut, and all the planning and preparation that has gone into it, I honestly think it's testament to your effort and commitment there. And you've got to be looking now, as you rightly are, at getting more investment in yourself to go on and do great things. So I think you've shown now, you've proved on that world level that this is just the start, isn't it? And
well, I hope so. Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you if this is the greatest achievement so far in your career, because it obviously is.
It's my biggest win, even though it wasn't a win. Yeah, definitely.
But let's talk also about the experience of running for GB and being at a World Champs, because you've got the build up to the race. You're not just going out there and racing that same day or the next day. Like, I saw you were the flag bearer.
Yeah, well, I just grabbed it.
Yeah, well, these are nice moments because, as you said before, nobody can ever take these moments away from you. You've got that GB vest, I'm sure you'll get many, many more, but it'll always have a place in your heart, won't it, Cam Frank? And it'll always have the pictures, you'll always have the memories. But talk us through the whole experience.
Well, you basically just said it all for me, Ben. Yeah, it's like that. I mean, it starts with the kit drop. That's quite fun. You get a suitcase of I think it was like 30 items of clothing. And it is the current British athletics cycle. So it's the stuff that the swimmers and the sprinters will be wearing in the next Olympics and stuff. So that feels quite cool. And you try it on in your living room and you take a few photos and you're like, is this really real?
And this is weeks before you go out as well. So that experience is starting then, isn't it?
Definitely. Yeah. And then you get added to a WhatsApp group, like with everything, which is full of really strong runners. And then you get out there and it's a wonderful team environment. So you've got runners across multiple disciplines. There's 5 races out there. The long was the long ultra, and obviously captures a little bit more commercials, but like there's the uphill and the classic races, which are also at a ridiculously high level. And we got to watch a few of the uphill races, and it's amazing to cheer on the girls and the guys at the top end of that field, and some great performances. Like Jacob Adkith was fifth in the uphill, which is just mad. And it was watching him run up that hill was unbelievable. So yeah, you get motivated by seeing sort of mates or new friends compete at that level. And then, you sort of feel like, it's that classic thing of like you put on a uniform and then you feel kind of united in some way with your team, even if you didn't know these people beforehand. So that's really fun. And then the ceremony was great. It was cool to see people from all around the world. That was a guy from Guatemala, San Marino had a team, everywhere, and everyone was represented, which was really fun.
What countries did you look at and think, I really want to
kit swap
some kit?
Yeah, I really wanted to kit swap. Unfortunately, the moment didn't.
Swap.
No, fine. What did you say? Which countries I want to?
Did you want to get past or beat kind of thing?
Well, I think in our race, the French and the Americans were the teams to watch.
The Americans took a really strong team this year, didn't they?
No, both those. Yeah, I mean, every country did, but those are the guys I wanted to race with, and the fact I ended up racing with them was pretty special.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice as well to see all the other races as well. I mean, you did the same at Tour de Dijon in a way, didn't you? You're kind of not just there for your race. And one thing that has changed about the World Champs over recent years is that they've put all these races together now. It wasn't always like that. There wasn't as many races
Changing the
before.
federation structure, yeah.
But it means you can take a bigger team. It means you can feel like more of a team as well. But it's just that whole build-up must just feel fantastic.
It's fantastic. And it was cold, but we had clear weather. So it's a gorgeous part of the world. If anyone just goes on the race website, you'll see it's this unbelievably beautiful corner of the Pyrenees. So, yeah.
There were some really amazing performances. Yours being one of them. You mentioned Jacob, Naomi Lang as well in the short. I mean, third place. She's someone going places, isn't she, as well?
Yeah, and she's racing again, I think, this weekend in like the Golden Trail, isn't she? So, I mean, I'm still a bit screwed, so I don't think I'll be racing in the next couple of weeks, but that's amazing, yeah.
I mean, Naomi's, she's relatively new on the scene, but she's racing at these big events like throughout the season. Her season seems to have been revolved around that distance, and obviously she's done the short ultra, not the long ultra, so she can probably get away with doing more races than what you are. You're going to have to put the recovery in out for the one that you did. But it's good to see now the Brits competing at that same level as
it's cool, isn't it? It's just we've talked about this like offline beforehand, but like it's a rising sport, right? And that's fun place to be. You want to be on something that's growing and every year is more competitive or harder or bigger or whatever. That's a fun feeling as a human, isn't it? So
definitely,
yeah, cool to be on that tide.
Do you find it hard, or what do, like, from a sponsor point of view? This is more like a question about that. Do they? Because I can see from like your enthusiasm for getting a GB vest and everything. Yeah. I assume that you want to go again in 2 years' time, right? But do you have to have a conversation with sponsors and things about choosing that versus other races? Or is that on the back of your mind?
Well,
I wouldn't know, but it's something to. I'm just thinking in my head. It's like Hugh obviously wants to go and push on for 2027.
Yeah,
but also you're at a point where sponsors might want you to choose other races.
Like Salomon are a good example. They'd want you to do the Golden Trail Series.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
Almost probably doing that.
And I'm sure other brands might want to. Not that you possibly want to leave Altra, but other brands might want you to focus on UTMB races only and stuff like this. So how does it work in your head with that, or do you just choose? You're going to choose what I want to do, and they can come along with it or not?
Yeah, I've been too small time for this to be an issue.
Yeah.
I'm imagining this might become an issue. The conversations I've had with brands are, these are the races I want to do, and because I'm choosing competitive elite level mountain races with coverage, that's been enough. I've yet to have the conversation of, we really want you to run this race, and I'm like, well, I don't really want to. We've yet to really have that with any brand. And yeah, I guess it's hard. That conversation about sponsors is particularly acute for the World Champs because you can't run in gear apart from the shoes. And there's actually some quite funny rules about like people having their arm warmers like taped over with duct tape and stuff, and their packs and things like that. So yeah, I can see how that might be confusing for a brand. But generally, I imagine if you're a brand working with like an elite level athlete competing at the top level, the fact that athlete gets a good result in your shoes, even if they're not wearing your t-shirt, is probably.
Plus, it should be up to them to put out stuff if they want to, like content around that race anyway. Lead up afterwards. There's plenty of stuff they can do.
Although, like with UTMB, there's some quite expensive and tricky media rules. But yeah.
Well, Ben will tell you about that.
Yeah. Let's not go into that. That's a full episode on that, isn't there?
Yeah.
Just going off on a tangent now, but I'd spoken to a few of the guys and girls who've been out and done the Worlds, and apparently there was a bit of an issue with the wasps, was there? Or
so in the short trail, so short trail, it's the stupidest name, isn't it? It's the little Easter egg within the trip. So the short trail, the marathon race, the day before ours, they went up to the same peak, but they took a slightly different route up through the forest. And I think the narrative is roughly the 10th runner disturbed some like very small ground nesting wasp nest with a pole or a foot or something, because the first few runners got through unscathed and then the rest of the field got battered. So like, Chris was stung.
This is your Chris Jones got stung, and I think Tom Roach as well.
Yeah, I think all of them. I think basically everyone I spoke to in that race got stung multiple times,
to the point where it really affected the race. I think Chris dropped, I believe, because of that. I'm not sure.
That's a key factor, right? Like with all these drops in ultra races, it's never just one thing, is it? But I think it's no fun if I think he's a little allergic. His wrists swelled up.
Some people can have bad reactions to it, and you're not going to race like that.
Yeah, exactly. So we all had like kind of wasp-borne paranoia that night that we were going to get stung on off, because the forest we went through was the same one, just a bit further over. But yeah, so that happened in the short trail. I mean, freak event, I think. Yeah. Spiced it up a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it threw some of the results way out, didn't it? But was there anything else that happened that week that we kind of don't know about, but you were there living the moment from an athlete perspective? And yeah, I suppose as well, you know, Gary's just been out to Italy to do Tour de Dijon, and everybody in the house got ill, as we've already talked about, but there was none of that in the camp, was there? There was no kind of...
Well, it could have gone wrong. So the sort of Yeah, some things I didn't really expect. So I thought it would be a team hotel, like just GB in a hotel, but it was like booked through the race. So there was like GB, France, Portugal, Colombia, all in the same hotel.
You were staying in Hacker as well, I think, which
in
was
the town just down the valley.
Yeah, it's a much bigger town because Canfrancky's is a tiny place, isn't it? You wouldn't all
8
be
hotel
able
rooms,
to.
and they're all 5-star.
There. Yeah, and the one where the train station is Canfrancky Station is unreal, isn't it? Yeah. The GB budget is not stretching to that hotel.
No,
put it that way.
not at all.
No.
So, like, had there been something in the rice, all of the major teams would have gone down. But no, we were fine. That was quite fun to be like, I was chatting with Vincent and Baptiste, who I'd race against the next morning over breakfast because we're all in the same hotel. So that was quite a nice little Easter egg of the experience as well.
You didn't do a John Kelly and just go full hazmat suit, GB suit, just
No, but
full gloves, masks.
But despite the bounteous kind of catering, Keith and I, Wiggly and I, did cook our own breakfast and dinner the night before and the morning of the race, because trying to eat the same food I would eat for a normal race or a normal long run.
Yeah.
And so just like trying to control those things you can control. Like we cooked gnocchi on a stove in the hotel courtyard the night before, despite the fact there was copious amounts of pasta in the provided catering.
I was used to religiously have like a McDonald's bagel and porridge during for ultras back in the day, because it was like a constant you could always get. But then I think when I started racing outside the UK, it's like, oh, what do I do now?
Yeah, you've got to take those things with you.
It is something to factor in though, isn't it? And people might not ever consider this and think about this, but even just changing your diet, you go somewhere like that as well, and the food is amazing, but it's not the sort of food that you necessarily used to eat.
This wasn't even fancy food. This was just hotel catering at scale, rice, pasta, red sauce, salad. But it is just slightly different. There'll be different oils, different butters, different things to what you normally cook with. So if you can find the brands that your stomach's used to, helps. Yeah. And I think it made a difference. Like we both through the week had been a bit, not wobbly tummies. We weren't ill, but like definitely not.
It's a change, isn't it? In what you're taking in, definitely.
I spoke to Mark Derbyshire yesterday, and he'll have already raced by the time this goes out, so we can speak about it. But
what a muck!
He's he's in Japan for a race.
Yeah, that and
yeah, which looks amazing. But he went for food. Well, this will have been the night before, but yeah, he's gone for food. And he said, he was eating some lovely Wagyu beef until the lady came over and started lighting it, and it was raw pork. Oh. So Mark being Mark's just waded in, and he's been eating raw pork. So I don't know how he's going to be today, but I'll have to catch up before his race in Japan. So yeah, we'll see how that.
Might be a good podcast episode.
Yeah, I'm going to catch up. I told him like save that and let me know how it goes.
Well, one thing we've not talked about as well is the fact that you had to pay to go out to have the privilege of running for your country. I mean, we need to address the elephant in the room. It is an issue, isn't it? And when we talk about why are people choosing UTMB over the Worlds, for example, this could be one of those reasons, because having spoken to Tom Evans last week, the financial benefit of winning UTMB compared to winning a World Champs, I can tell you now, I won't mention any figures on it because he won't want me to.
It's massive, yeah.
But the gulf is massive. And I'm not just talking about the actual prize money, but the sponsorship that comes off the back of it and brand contracts. We're talking like worlds apart now.
Yeah, factors different.
This. Yeah,
it's even true of like small athlete contracts, like the bonus schemes I've seen have historically upweighted UTMB. That might change after this year, given the quality of the field that raced there. But yeah, the financial factor, yes, the £500 like athlete contribution we had to make this year is an issue. Probably didn't change in the end the team that went. Like I think the things that exclude people from ultra running, like the cost of races and stuff, like just apply in general. And so this probably wasn't the needle that stops someone trying to race or not trying to race. It's all these other factors. But yeah, the fee would have been higher if there wasn't a crowdfunder as well. So hats off and thanks to everyone who contributed to the crowdfunder, because that allowed someone to go who wouldn't have otherwise gone, or that was easier for them because of that. I mean, I think all the other federations that I spoke to were funded by their federation or sports body. So I don't know the ins and outs of British athletics' finances, but it is a shame.
Yeah, it is. I think the media coverage as well this year was better at the World than it's ever been. I still think there's a long way to go. And again, I know I keep comparing it to UTMB, but you have to. Like the media attention that Tom got from winning UTMB compared to the winners of the Worlds, I mean, there was obviously a lot of attention for the winners of the Worlds, but nowhere near the same level. Let's be honest.
I do know Tom, so I hope I can speak openly as well. I think that also might be the style of the individual. So Tom is also he's building a career very savvily through his interactions with brands and the sport. Right?
I mean, Tom is one of the most marketable trail runners on the planet. Let's be honest. So you're right. So that does play in, but then I think anybody who would have won UTMB this year would have had a
Would have had
bigger
more.
media platform than the
True.
Worlds.
I think there's sometimes as well, like sometimes people can get confused with like you say media attention, but what is media versus what is just people outputting their own stuff, or people just reporting on the race, or people putting out videos, and you see way more UTMB stuff maybe than Worlds. I think what you might see, and I'm only guessing, is if I was a brand and I don't want to pay these extortionate amounts to like get involved with UTMB every year, it's like, why not just focus on stuff away from UTMB?
Yeah.
Because trail running is trail running. The World Champs is such an exciting race. If I was a brand, I'd just rock up there instead of a UTMB maybe one year that doesn't have the same budget and go and do that kind of stuff.
It might even be those media issues that we're not going to talk about. But like, I think I think it was Terex sponsored the World Champs, but they also didn't have a big presence that I saw. So not sure.
No, but you can, like you say, you can do your own stuff around any event, like a sports shoes. You can go to any event, can't you? It's not like, but you will have limitations on obviously what you can put out and what you can do in the time. But
let's hope this race ups the ante on those World Champs, right? So
definitely, I just
half the
all
problem
of us.
is, I guess there isn't one next year, so everyone will be at UTMB.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the beauty as well, though, because of less frequency means.
Yeah, no, it is better. Yeah,
I'm just desperate. Like I'm sure we all are in this room to see the World Champs, the level of coverage that I think it deserves. For the people that are going there, and it should be the number one choice. It really should. And there are things that do need to change, but we've got to talk about these things as well. Like it is important. Because you deserve that coverage, and you deserve the financial support in every respect from the sponsors and from winning the races and and being able to be funded to go out there as well.
Well, I think it was. I don't know what your metrics are for this, but it would be hard to argue that it wasn't one amongst the top three most competitive ultra races of the last 20 years or whatever. Like I think UTMB 2 years ago was close.
Yeah,
I don't know what your metric is, but
I agree. But I can just making the point again.
Like the media.
I mean, Tom Evans, John Albon, Josh Wade, all did UTMB and would have got in. You'd think on merit if taking the trial race out, you'd put them in the shortlist. And there's three people straight off the bat that I can name there. So you're right, it is. And I'm not taking any. I'm not trying to discredit the level because it is huge. But I want to see everybody there. I want to see in
especially
other sports,
if you've got 6 spots, you should have a qualifier like a race where there's 10, 15 of you all battling it out potentially. Yeah. Not just like a couple of you like you could have jogged around that qualifier.
Oh, I don't think that's fair. Jack and I had a good race, but
to qualify though,
it wasn't the same level as
and 4 of them are whatever. Yeah. So you didn't have to go and win.
No, true.
Yeah. So I would love to see that more competitive more than anything.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen, is it? Because of the sponsor commitments and the contracts. Like you can make those around the World Champs and say this is a big race, but then for some small, more local race in spring, where there are big European races, it'd be pretty tricky.
Yeah, true. So what are you going to do next year?
What's next? No, I'm still dwelling on last weekend. No, I think the big goal for the next year would be, unfortunately, it would be CCC. So the 100K, the same category race at the World Finals. I tried that race a couple of years ago and I struggled, I think, due to altitude. It goes up quite high early on and I felt really bad over the first climb and never recovered. I was also 2 years ago and I've done 2 more years training, so I think I'm considerably fitter. So that would be the main A-star target to go all in for in the same way. And I'll try and pick off a couple more high-level competitive European races at the start of the year if
and is it a big benefit being part of the team? I know it seems like you and Keith have a good relationship in terms of pushing each other. Yeah. Do you have conversations where, let's next year target this, or let's next year so we can work together more, or are you both completely individual in that?
So it's a little bit of both and the opposite. A little bit of don't race this, I'm racing that, and a little bit of let's race that together. There's a bit of both. We've had a good rivalry and friendship for a couple of years now, and we train a lot together. I think just how the cookie's crumbling is we'll end up racing different stuff through the start of next year and then have a showdown on the CCC course.
Yeah, okay.
It's great to see that friendship and that rivalry though. And I know Holly's in that group that you train with as well. You do a lot
Altra
together,
Altra and Lakes and stuff,
Built a great team. I love what Altra are doing right now in terms of sponsoring races. You got the 13 Valleys and Kielder, and then the Yorkshireman Marathon. So
Yeah.
I'm noticing Altra a lot more, and I'm also liking the content that they're doing because they're using you guys in it, and there's a nice fun element to it as well. It's a different approach. I think it sits well with the brand, and it's putting the brand on a pedestal. So I'm expecting more exciting things to come from you, from Altra, and from the team. It's in a good place.
Yeah. It's fun to be, as we said earlier, it's like fun to be on a like tide that's rising, isn't it? So yeah, it's been a good journey to be on for the last year or so. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, I think you're destined for great things, Hugh. I'm not just saying that because you're here, but I think you've proved now on a world level that you're more than capable of competing with the best. I mean, to be rubbing shoulders with some of those names is nothing short of incredible. And to do it right now when you're working 4 days full time and, trying to, manage the training with a working life, and also not living at altitude, doing all the travelling that you're doing, is testament to
It's been a lot
commitment.
this year. It's been a lot this year. But one more race this year, I think, and then I'll take a little bit of an off season for a couple of months and ramp it up all again.
Yeah. Well, let's hope, mate, coming on this podcast is going to take your profile up a little bit more, make you even more lucrative
Just
for
don't
Sam
steal our
Pellegrino.
Sam Pellegrino with that cycling kit.
Maybe they can
You can have
sponsor
Kit
both.
Kat, we'll have Sam Pellegrino.
No, it's been a pleasure talking to you and understanding a bit more about you as well, because I can see now why you've been so successful, and you're going to be even more successful because the level of effort you've put in is nothing short of inspirational.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Yeah, thank you. And without further ado, we'll see you next Tuesday. That's for our audience. So yeah, and you can go. We can release you back into the wild now. You can go for a bike
Bike ride around the Dales. Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
it's really nice.
Happy days, mate. Thank you.